Well, what's up, y'all, man? It's Jonathan Owens here on the Word Spoken. Let's dive deep and answer these questions that are in society, and they're from some of the most famous scientists, skeptics, atheists, and I'm going to give a rebuttal. I'm going to be answering them from a biblical frame of reference so that you may know there are answers to these questions. Let's start with no other than Richard Dawkins. Yes, you know that name. He's going to be talking about how evolution took place, but in a way that discusses why chimpanzees and apes or whatever other primate are still here if people say that we evolved from them. He's going to basically clear up this misnomer. Video first, and we'll take a look at another video of him. And so let's just look at this first one. Let's go.
If we're descended from chimpanzees, how come there are still chimpanzees? Well, we're not descended from chimpanzees. We're both descended from a common ancestor who lived there about 6 million years ago. That common ancestor then produced two branches, one of which went to us humans, and one of which went to chimpanzees, branching further to produce bonobos and common chimpanzees. We are all cousins. We are not descended from chimpanzees. More distantly related are gorillas. They share a common ancestor with both us and chimpanzees. That's the common ancestor between gorillas and humans and chimps. So humans and chimps are a natural group which are related to gorillas, cousins of gorillas, and all of those animals, which are all African apes. The African apes are gorillas, humans, bonobos, and chimpanzees.
So if you see what he said, he said that, the two primates and us, we derive from a common ancestor. So that's why there are still both of us. Because basically, we didn't come from each other. We came from a common ancestor that branched off and it made us both. Well, if you look at his video and see that picture up there or whatever he has up there, you see that why does every other primate, whatever it is, ape, chimpanzee, orangutan, like why do all of them look alike? And then he has this woman here in front and center that looks nothing like the other. He said that we evolved from a common ancestor that branched off and made us. So that's why we didn't come straight from them. So that's why both of us are still around. But why do we look so different than them? See, the evolutionists will have to explain what made humans so special that we are basically so different. And they will say, on molecular level or DNA, with 98, or they have to bring that back to 95 or however percent the same. We're like that close. And I'm like, well, if we're that close, then why does it look that obviously that different? And it's like, also, it's like they throw around this term of, okay, we have a common ancestor. So, okay, if you think about this experiment, if you've seen videos like this, you'll see that you have ran across this problem before. So if you ask them now, they'll tell you, okay, like humans, we'll keep evolving, but we'll always stay humans in the future. You ask them, okay, what if humans are going to evolve to next? If evolution is still going, what are we going to evolve to next? And they'll tell you that we're going to still be humans, because you're like we're eukaryotes, or other terminology they may use, and like we'll always be eukaryotes, we'll always be human, we'll keep evolving, but we'll still be human. And I'm like, but if you trace that back, at some point human wasn't a human, because if we came from a common ancestor, that common ancestor couldn't have been human, because if it branched off and made two different things, that means it wasn't human at first. You got to think about these things. If you were always a human, and you're saying that humans will always be humans henceforth, then why wouldn't we always been humans previously? So if we came from a common ancestor, that means a common ancestor had to eventually become something that's not itself. The common ancestor would have had to become somehow two different things that make it branch off into two separate things. It's like it's like how is that even possible? A common ancestor can become something, like branch off and become two different things. It like, think about the logic. And so it's like I need to know. It's like, and partially why we get this, I would call this the delusion, but we get these deluded answers because his next video talks about how the missing link. So he's going to go into the missing link. So let's look at this video and let me show you and give my rebuttal to this missing link equation. Let's go.
People often say, where are the intermediate fossils? Show us your intermediate fossils. There are plenty of intermediate fossils, and one of the best examples is whales. The modern whales are up there. Here's a series of fossils back in time. Dorodon about 36 million years ago, Rhodocetus about 47.5 million years, Pachycetus about 48.5 million years. And you can see they form a lovely series of intermediates. As you go from old to young, Pachycetus, Rhodocetus, gradually losing the hind legs to Dorodon, which has almost lost the hind legs completely. Modern whales have completely lost the hind legs. There are some vestigial bones, some remnant bones buried deep inside the body. A lovely series of intermediates getting progressively more and more specialized in living in the sea. If you look at Pachycetus, which is an old fossil whale, you see that the nostril is just about where you'd expect the nostril to be, near the tip of the snout. If we move on 1 million years to Rhodocetus, you see that the nostril has moved backwards on the skull, backwards along the snout. Now, if you look at a modern whale, that's a dolphin, a modern dolphin, you see that the nostril is right up near the top of the head. That's the blowhole. The nostril has moved right backwards. Now, a really surprising...
if you've seen what he said that these missing links from this land animal to the whale. And I'm like, if you look up there, you clearly see they made drawings based off what they think the fossil looks like, because they already have a preconceived notion that this took place this way. It's crazy. They made a drawing based off the fossils of the beaks or the mouths that they think the creature looked like. So you line those things up and said, this is evolution from a land animal to an ocean, or ocean animal to a land animal, whatever. It's like, are you serious? Are you serious? And then why don't we have these transitional fossils for everything? It's like you find something that you think and you like, and then you line it up so you can try to match your theory. And I'm like, that's the whole reason that we're getting into the Cambrian explosion, where the major phyla just come into existence out of nowhere, coming from the pre-Cambrian to the Cambrian. So you're telling me we have that in the fossil record, but then at the same time, you're able to do this. At the same time, you're able to do this. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And so I just need clarity on why you think that you can actually just line these things up and then call them transitional when you don't know what the animal look like, looking at their size, and you seeing the nostrils on the head, thinking that means that the nostrils evolved to the back of the head to the front of the head. It's like you could take 4 different animals with nostrils on different sides, on different heads, and if they're part of the same family, and then call them transitional, but all along they're part of the same genus family anyway. You're going to come with something different and stronger, because that doesn't make sense. Well, that's number 2. Well, let's look at something else that really bugs me. And I'm going to answer it because I haven't heard an answer from any watching atheists on this. So let's look at these 3 people. We have Neil deGrasse Tyson and these other 2 women talking about the Chicxulub, the asteroid that destroyed the dinosaurs. So take a look at this video.
There's a lot of confusion around that and fear.
I'll lead off and then hand to Kimmy. Yeah, an asteroid took out all her dinosaurs. One of my rocks in space.
I don't like that. Yeah, that was on you.
Wait. That's not Neil. Another one could take us out. And one that took
like
out the dinosaurs pried open an ecological niche for our mammal ancestors to evolve into something more ambitious than a tree rodent. So I mean,
I'm grateful for that, but
killer asteroids can be our friends or our enemies. Now, Kim, what do you have to say about asteroids or killer anything, extinction and dinosaurs?
Right. I mean, I think with the sort of in Cretaceous extinction, and a lot of extinction events, there's this sort of misconception that these things happen instantaneously and that all the dinosaurs disappear. That is not the case.
That's
obviously
what happened in the Land Before Time.
Right? So I mean, and this is a thing with like all paleo art reconstructions where you have a bunch of dinosaurs. There's always like fire in the background and like
volcanoes.
Volcanoes and like
there's one of the baby dinosaurs yelling like "Mom, Mom!"
Yes, exactly. Like crying in the distance.
So okay, so we see this, and this is what skeptics and atheists and scientists have told humanity. And I'm like, okay, I need to get something off my chest. I need some answers, because why do scientists say that the asteroid struck and killed all the all the dinosaurs, but they never say what else did it killed? So nothing else was on the planet at the same time as the dinosaurs. So, like, whatever it is, rhinos or alligators or whatever it is, they keep saying, "Oh, the asteroid that killed the dinosaur, the asteroid that killed the dinosaur." I'm like, it did not kill anything else. Like, what about that same asteroid that killed the dinosaurs? Wouldn't it have not killed everything else? And if it did kill everything else, 65 million years ago, or whatever, then how did evolution start over? How is that enough time for it to start over? That's not enough time, because if you look at the Cambrian, if you look at the whole fossil record and they say the Cambrian, Precambrian, and all those different layers are 500 million years ago, 100 million years ago, and then it goes up and up. And I'm like, if the asteroid destroyed every single thing, then that means, how did evolution have enough time to start over only within 65 million years ago? If it took 100 and 500 and 300, if it took that many 100 million years to get from the Precambrian to the Cambrian to everything, then how did the dinosaurs get destroyed? Everything else should have got destroyed by the asteroid. And then that was enough time for evolution to take place again within that 65 million year to now period. So that doesn't make sense. Because you have to say, if the asteroid destroyed the dinosaurs, it would have destroyed every single else thing. Like, it would destroy everything else with it. Nothing else surviving. It's like all mammalian animals are dying, and some insects could be alive, but lizards, all the other stuff everything is dying. So I'm not sure why they are saying this, and how can they explain the time scale of evolution starting over within a 65 million year period? It's not making sense. Whew. Well, I mean, and so what are some of the other ones? The last one is another one that it really gets people, and it's by Alex O'Connor, which talked about this. And so it's really something that we should explore. So it's, how can the God of heaven actually talk about this genocide in the Old Testament? So let's take a look at this video, and then I'll respond.
But okay, so for example, in the destruction of Ai, 12,000 people fell that day, all the people of Ai. That's what's said in the book of Joshua. Now, maybe all the people of Ai is like an exaggeration, but 12,000 people is pretty specific. It'd be a weird thing to be doing as hyperbole, right? We have a number of people, 12,000 people. We know it's men, we know it's women, we know it's children are slaughtered. We know that that's not hyperbole. We know that thousands of men were killed. We know that I should quote, I don't want to get this wrong. Perhaps we should look at the text. Yeah, so in Joshua chapter 8, when Israel had finished killing all of the men of Ai in the fields and in the wilderness where they had chased them, and when every one of them had been put to the sword, all of the Israelites returned to Ai and killed those who were in it. 12,000 people fell that day. 12,000 men and women fell that day, all the people of Ai. So we know that women are being killed, non-combatants are being killed. We know that there are thousands of them. We also know that there were people who had left. They'd run into the wilderness. They were out of the promised land, but the Israelites chased after them and then killed them in the wilderness. And it says all of them were put to the sword. Maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe that some of them ran away. Maybe all of the ones that they captured were put to the sword, but some of them managed to actually run away, and those are the people who show up in the next chapter. But it's
that's a heavy one. And boy, it sure is heavy. Because trying to answer that is not easy. Now you have to actually take and see, okay, first you have to answer the question, is God true? Is God real? Because you have to answer the question. Why do I say you have to answer those questions? Because first of all, if you answer those questions, if God is true and if he is real, meaning like what he says is true and if he is real, then you have to actually say, now my ears are open. I'm listening to everything you're saying. Now, secondly, you have to answer the question, is God all good? Now, based off this, you'll say that no, God is not all good. But then you got to ask yourself, okay, do we live in an evil world? Obviously, everybody most likely should say yes, because we see it. But then now you're going to say, okay, then God is the one who allowed this evil to come in the world. And then you have to now ask yourself, it's like, why? So that's when you go back to the scriptures and he tells you why the world is evil the way it is. But then I get that, because people may say, okay, well, this is the Old Testament. This is not this evil men doing something. This is the God telling the children of Israel to commit this on people, women and children. So, okay, so let's get into this. Let's dive deep and let's make your ears ring. So we already established a fact, and they did in this video. Okay, the men who were evil, check. God told him to kill them. You know, that's the way he operated because there was so much evil in the land. Check. Boom. Let's go. Now, let's go to the women. The women also, they knew what they were doing. Evil. Boom. Check. God let them be killed because the evil in the land. But what about the children? What about the young children, 3 and 4 or 5-year-olds? Well, now you have to look at it like this. There is a problem on the understanding of, for the people having to do the Israelites having to do the killing. That would have been a terrifying, and that would have been a crazy thing to feel. Who knows how they did it? Who knows if they like just did it and they did it quickly, or how? Like, we don't, regardless of what it is, it happened. So what are we going to do with it? So in this society, knowing that God knows all things, let's say for one reason, God was doing this to take the children out of their misery because some of them were being sacrificed to false gods and being burnt at the stake. So let's say that was one reason, and say God was like, let's take them out because, and we don't know how God may have did that. He could have took the soul from the kids before they actually got killed and took the soul from them and brought those little kids' souls to heaven. And then so even when the children of Israel were actually killing the little children, their souls already left their body because so God wouldn't allow them to feel any pain. We don't know that's how God may have did it, because he's powerful and all wise, no more than us. So he could have did it that way. So in my mind, I believe that's probably how God would have done it. But let's say if you say, since we don't know, God, maybe he probably did. What if he didn't do it that way and they actually had to suffer through that? Well then, okay, now you have to think about, okay, what would God do? How would he have done it? Do you think God is a loving God if he's trying to take those babies out of the world so they don't grow up in a sinful society? How would he have done it? Whatever which way he would have done it, obviously it is a way that actually is suitable to the Lord. And so now we have to come at it at a point and like this and say, okay, I don't like the way you did it, Lord, because that seems evil. But then you have to turn around to yourself and say, what can the clay say to the potter? Like, what can how can you, a sinful person, come to the Lord of hosts and say, I know that you could have done it better, Lord. I know that you could have did it this way, Lord. I know that you could. And it's like, you can't tell the Lord that he had a better way to do it, because the way he did it is the best way. Now, you can't even understand how it is even love, because why? Because your mind can't even go outside your little, 3-pound brain and understand the concept of God lovingly doing something like taking out the children so they won't live in a society that's evil, so that God will have to destroy them. Because you have to remember, once sin entered the world, everything changed. The way God related to his people, everything changed. It was no longer a way that God was just going to say, okay, I look past your sin. Now God had to orchestrate an entire plan, which led up to his son being killed on the cross. And so now things in the world are changed. They are different. They ain't the same no more. So you can forget about all that other stuff. Like, everything changed. Now God has to operate in a different way because of man's sin. So I already can hear your response, like, then why God will create all this in the first place, knowing that we were sin? I can answer that question, but right now, what I'm talking about is, this is a problem of sin, and the way to go about sin, we don't know, because we don't know the mind of Christ. Like I said, I believe that God actually took the soul from those innocent babies or children, whatever it is, and took them away from their bodies, so that when they were being killed, they actually didn't feel any pain. But that's just what I believe that God did. But in any type of way, I know that any short-term pain that came upon the children was going to be much better than a life of demonic sin and eventual judgment on them that would have caused both pain in life and an ultimate judgment of separation from God, plus sin, like consequences in the world and after the world. So God taking them now, and if they did feel a short-term pain, it's much better, because right now God's dealing with a sin-led world. So things are going to happen in the sin-led world. So if they had a brief moment of pain, then it's a brief moment of pain, but it's an everlasting joy compared to a lifelong of sin and pain from consequences in the world and after the world, after you die, because you have sinned. So now God is like, okay, which one is better? So it's not an easy thing to wrestle with, but we can rest assured that God is a loving, merciful God who is dealing with people right now in a sin-laden world, and we are getting mercy and grace when all of us should be thrown away. So trust in the God who walks on water. Trust in the God who created the ocean, the seas, the moon, the stars. Trust in the God who did it all, and because we don't have his mind, but we need to adopt his mind so we can understand the way he understands, try to, and we can try to think the way he thinks. So hopefully that helps. But this is my answers to these top questions and these critics and these skeptics and these atheists. And I would like to see if they can actually answer them, because I can go on all day with them, but let's see what you think. So I'll see y'all next time. Let me know. Like, again, subscribe and like, and we'll do this more and more, Lord's willing.